This is the Christian Podcast, and these are the Bethany Kids. You guys don't look so young, but
we were kids at some point.
All right, I love it. I'm excited to be here. Peter, you live in Canada, right?
That's right.
That's where you're at in Ontario.
That's correct. Yes.
Awesome. And David, well, you just told us you're in Kijabi in Kenya, and I'm here in California. It's 6 a.m. in California. I had to wake up early, but it's so cool. What time is it where you guys are at?
Well, for me, it's 9 o'clock in the morning, so I'm good. But it's like super rainy day, so it's still pretty dark in here.
Okay. 9 a.m.
It's 4 p.m. here. 4:09.
Oh wow.
Cloudy. Yeah.
Nice. Well, there we go. Super international. I'm from Mexico, but I'm here in California. I've been here for like the last 15 years. And I'm so interested to talk today about a little bit of what you guys do with Bethany Kids. How is that, helping maybe some of the challenges that you guys have faced, some of the current challenges. So I think today we can talk all about, Bethany Kids. But first, would you guys, let's start with Peter. Just on my screen, you're on the top level. But let's start with Peter. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do as it relates to Bethany Kids.
My name's Peter Lublink, and I'm the executive director with Bethany Kids. So I've been working with Bethany Kids for most of this year, but am relatively new to Bethany Kids. Prior to that, I lived in the Middle East for the last 8 years, where I taught, where I helped other NGOs, and where I pastored a church. And now my work with Bethany Kids is mostly, as the executive director, there's a lot of fundraising, there's a lot of raising awareness, and then managing our various programs in the 6 different countries in which we work. So we started in Kenya. That's the bulk of our work. That is our sort of largest team and most well-developed program. And then we've also got work in 5 other countries. So working with each of the surgeons in those countries, that's the bulk of my day each day.
Awesome. What about you, David? What is, who you are and some of what you do there in Kenya?
Okay, I'm David. I'm the director for Bethany Kids in Kenya, the country director. I'm responsible for all programs in Kenya. We have a surgical program here in Kijabi where I am, rehab program 2 hours from here. And we have a team that goes around the country doing follow-up for all the surgeries that we do. And we also have a team that goes around providing wheelchair and other assistive devices. That's what we do in Kenya.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys. I want to read a little bit about kind of like the mission of Bethany Kids that I have here. I pulled it from your website, and it says, Bethany Kids is a compassionate Christian mission transforming the lives of African children with surgical conditions and disabilities through pediatric surgery, rehabilitation, public education, spiritual ministry, and training health professionals. And then you have some incredible numbers there, more than 3,000 surgical procedures, more than 8,000 rehab sessions, and more than 15,000 patients at your clinics, which is massive. I'm so interested to know, First Peter, I would say First Peter almost sounds biblical, man.
Chapter?
That's it. Which
Let's go
chapter
to
would you
First
like?
Peter. Yeah, exactly.
And after David's going to write a psalm for us, he's going to sing something.
David, we have it so biblical today. I was actually reading Matthew, and I was a little inspired by what you I think we were emailing back and forth with you and me, Peter. And then you were saying something like, I think Bethany Kids has been doing amazing work, really, for the past few years, and really nobody knows about it, but it's massive work. And I was actually reading Matthew I wasn't reading, I was listening because I like to have the Bible read to me.
Yeah.
And I was reading Matthew chapter 6, and it's something like this, like, be especially careful when you're trying to be good so that you don't make a performance out of it. But then it says, when you do something for someone else, don't call attention to yourself. And I think that's almost like what you guys been doing naturally, right? You've been doing the good work. You've been helping kids. Would you tell me a little bit about that experience living in the Middle East? What was it about? Why, first of all, like, why were you living in the Middle East? You said you were pastoring a church,
right.
But how is that different than living, in North America or in the West?
Yeah, good question. So I moved to the Middle East 8 years ago, and I have this desire, like hopefully all Christians, to see the world made to be a better place. And I think when we invest in kids and when we care for children, when we raise up the next generation with hopefully a sense of love for neighbor, that's what I want to do. So I knew that the Middle East, obviously in the West, has a reputation and has faced some struggles. So my wife and I, we moved there. We started teaching in a school, and I taught there as a teacher for 7 years. And it was an amazing opportunity to invest in kids and to try to help them work through some of the things that kids need to work through. I think as a teacher, it's this reminder, you're not just teaching math and science and English, but you're also teaching ethics and morality in some kind of way. And the way in which you do that, for the most part, is you model it. How you speak to students, how you lead a classroom. You're hopefully modeling a sense of love, patience, hope, acceptance. And so that was a brilliant experience. Through that time, we started pastoring a church as well. That wasn't why we went there, but started pastoring a beautiful community there. And again, this sense that, as all of us, we have the capacity to make things better by investing in our neighborhoods, by loving others, by using the skills and the gifts that we have. And living in the Middle East for so long, it gave me an opportunity to do that. It's a very different environment because it's a very sort of religiously dominated environment and quite structured and quite racially hierarchical. So you get a lot of people working from other countries who are sort of hired to just do one job within one sector. So you might have a lot of Bangladeshi people just doing one job in one area. You might have people from South Africa doing a different job. So it was really a structured society in that way. And, you're born, and whatever religion you have when you're born, that's your religion, that you keep that for life and you can't really change. So it was an interesting experience, but what it did allow me to do is travel quite a bit. So my first time going to Kenya was when I was living in the Middle East. And then that's also where I got to know Bethany Kids. And just seeing an organization like that, as you described it, it's one of these organizations that it strikes me as humble. And I think that represents all the staff that I've met. There's a humility and a grace, not a desire to be known, but to just do the work and try to save lives. And I get the sense, even as I return to North America, there does feel like the sense that a lot of people want to be known. And at an individual level, I get it. Like, we all want to be known and have someone know our name and our birthday and feel special. But there's a real desire for fame and status. But what I perceive in all of the staff I've met in Bethany Kids is it's the opposite. There's this I heard it once described with Jesus, we're not climbing the ladder up towards fame, but we're climbing the ladder down towards his people. And there's a sense of making sure we're situated with those on the margins. And all of the staff that I've met, and that includes David, who's on this podcast right now, people are humble, grace-filled. And for me, it's been a pleasure working with them.
Wow. That's so cool. I love how you said, climbing the ladder down. That is so cool because that is servant leadership really showcased that way. David, tell us a little about the experience. I think I was reading somewhere on the website that you have been with Bethany Kids for like 15 years. Tell us a little bit about the process. Like, first of all, I don't know if you want to speak about it, but why focus on kids, right? I read on the website a little bit. A kid has all these opportunities before him and stuff like that, but why focus on kids?
Well, I think it represents the heart of the vision bearer, the founder, Dr. Bransford, because in Kenya, in the years that Bethany Kids started, we actually started before 2004 when we are officially registered. We started in 1997 as an organization that dealt with all types of surgical conditions, and the need was a lot for children. So adults usually can take care of themselves. Most of them can, and if they can't, they know how to ask for help. But kids don't, and the focus of the kids that we take care of are kids that are born with a condition that no one really understands. So the kids that come to us, from the point that they come into the earth, the parents are faced with confusion. They don't know what to do, and there's no hope. And the vision bearer, Dr. Bransford, at that time saw that there was a huge need, and he saw that these children, with a simple surgery, their lives could be changed. And that's what motivated him to that. And I think his focus stayed with the children, because once you're an adult, usually you can take care of yourself. But in terms of the work that we do focus our intervention on children. But then once we've started the journey with someone, we stay with them lifelong. So we care for kids until they're much, much older. So we have within our programs kids that are over 20, and others that are young people who are just doing things in the world, doing things in Kenya. So that's the heart of the vision bearer, is where it came from. And
Wow.
And he would just to talk about when you asked about the humility and who's more important, Dr. Bransford, the founder, he usually would tell us as staff, he would present a case. So we were either in the theater or in the ward, and there would be doctors, therapists, administrators, and he would ask, who is the most important person in this room? And everyone would give their thoughts, and his answer was always the client, the patient. So it's not about us being known, it's about how we can help the child that's on the table, on the bed, and that has come to us for care.
Wow, that's so cool. Why? Well, tell me a little bit about the challenge of children with disabilities and surgical conditions. Is that different in Africa or in Kenya or in these 6 countries that you guys are working with? Is it very different than something like in North America, or is it similar, or are there more cases there, or is there less care? Like, what's going on with why do these kids have these conditions? Is there any knowledge of that? Either David or Peter? I think David, you could probably lead us.
So first, our health system is much younger than the health systems in North America and Europe. So that means there's a lot that's being developed. And one thing that represents that is the number of caregivers and professionals like doctors and specialists. So our numbers are very, very low compared to North America and Europe and even some parts of Asia. And that contributes to such things. Also, issues of diet and some things that just have some genetic implications to them, and that leads to some conditions being more prevalent in such areas. But the main reason why we have the numbers and the need that is there for us is usually the level of healthcare, which I can say we've gone in leaps and strides, and we are at a better level than we were 20 years ago, 15 years ago, when Bethany Kids was beginning. But that is the main focus. The healthcare level is a bit lower, and the accessibility of that healthcare to people from different areas is also much lower than it would be in North America, because our people are scattered across the country, and some areas are very, very rural. So when a child is born with a condition that no one knows about, the first thought in the community is that this is a curse, and it's someone's fault. And in some communities, this child should be killed, should be destroyed. And that's true of one of our staff, a very important part of our team, a lady called Francisca. When she was born with a condition called spina bifida, and her family wanted to kill her. Because that's what the culture dictates. This is an abomination. This is something that should not be in our family. It's a curse, and so we should eliminate it. And so those cultural things just come into play, and the fear that the parents have means they don't even try to access care. They lock up the child or hide the child, and such things. They present a scenario where care doesn't come early enough, and so disability results from that. And that's the main, with healthcare being so hard to access and maybe at a level that is not the same as other parts of the world, the numbers now just keep piling up, and you can get even more complicated conditions.
Wow. And tell me a little bit about the process of expanding to other countries. I mean, how did that happen? Was it the founder? You said his last name was Bradford or something like that?
Bransford. Richard Bransford.
Was he? I mean, how did it expand to 6 countries? Because I mean, that's big influence, and that's I mean, it shows such a big heart and such a big caring for people that, you know, it started in Kenya, but it's not only Kenya. Tell me a little bit about the other countries where Bethany is making an impact.
I think it's at some point there's this pivot where you say, it's wonderful to serve the child in front of me, and that's an amazing opportunity. But what does it look like to now train surgeons and then have those surgeons return to their home countries? And that was the pivot. That was a change, which I'm sure David could speak more to. But when that happened, we started recruiting medical professionals from all over Africa and saying, listen, we will train you in our pediatrics program, and you can stay here in the Kajabe hospital area, train with our experts, and kind of shifting this model away from the kind of old school missionary model to saying, let's actually train and develop people from their local countries so that they can return to those countries. So what's happened is, as someone has finished our program, they obviously can go wherever they want. Nobody's held captive, but we really encourage people to say, if you're willing to go to your home country, if you're willing to continue to serve the least of the least, rather than working in an expensive, rich hospital for only wealthy patients, if you're willing to work in a government hospital or a mission hospital or somewhere where you are carving out space for the marginalized, that we want to be able to continue to top up your salary so you're given a fair living wage, and we were going to cover as many patients as we can. So the other 5 countries outside of Kenya really exist because of the work David and his team have done, because now all of those surgeons are people who trained in Kenya with us. And then they kind of grow from there. So you might hire a physiotherapist or something, or a social worker or whatever staff member. But in every case, it starts with not a Westerner. Of the other 5 countries, there has been no sort of full-time Westerner. It's been a local person returning to their home country after training in Kenya, and then us as a team trying to resource them, trying to give them continuing education programs, conferences, and then, of course, financial support.
Wow. That is so cool. It's like you said, it's well, there's a pivot in the missional approach, right? It's not like, okay, here's the Western the medical team trying to fix the problems somewhere else in the world. It's no, you can help too where you come from, right? It's like, no, I don't know, me coming back to Mexico and fixing things there. That's so cool.
Right.
Yeah.
There's something, David and I were talking about this yesterday, but in a season like COVID, this model, I think, is far more resilient. So say, for example, my medical program was to hire Western doctors and send them across the world. Obviously, that's an expensive model, but in the midst of COVID, what we're seeing is a lot of those kind of medical trips have been canceled from other organizations. A lot of people who maybe served internationally returned to their home countries. But in our model, people are home. David's home. Our other surgeons are home. They're working in their home countries. And my sense is that has made us much more resilient because we didn't have to cancel all the programs. We just were able to adapt, I think, a lot more quickly in local contexts.
Yeah, I think you're at the... Wow, this is so cool because you're almost like at the forefront of a very different missional approach that it's, well, in my words or what I'm getting from you guys, it's almost like way more sustainable than previous models. So that is amazing. Tell me a little bit about, maybe David, the process of just getting a kid into the hospital. Like, how do you guys find out who to help? Can anyone just knock on the door and say, I need help? Or how does that work? How do you decide, we're going to focus our attention on this need right here?
Okay, well, anyone can knock on our doors and ask if we can help. The way people know about us is because of the many years that we've worked here. We've had to form networks with different organizations. So I mentioned a team that travels across the country to follow up the children that have received surgical care from us, because some of the conditions that we follow up on need lifelong care. So our team travels to different places and sees the patient. So in those places, we are hosted by either churches, rehabilitation centers, people, individuals, government facilities, hospitals. And with those people knowing about us, they are able to send the word out to their communities that if you have a child who has a unique condition, we have this team coming over to see children, and you can bring the child there. And when they come, they might get help. And so when our team sees them, they refer them to us here. But most people just know the Kijabi name, know that Bethany Kids does something special for children with surgical conditions. And so they just, when someone is born and someone knows, like a healthcare worker or a delivery nurse knows about Bethany Kids, they'll tell them, and when they come here, they'll meet our social worker who meets them, gets to know the condition, and makes sure that they are seen by one of our surgeons on a clinic. And then from there, now they engage them and tell them, yes, this we can help. Yes, no, this one we can't help. Let's refer them here. But most of them with any surgical conditions that are not to do with bones, we are able to help.
Yeah. And how is because here on the website, and really your mission is to provide almost like a holistic care where you've also, there's a spiritual component to helping these kids, right? And I wonder if you could tell a story maybe of how the process of a kid, getting the medical attention that he needs, but how is that later on maybe transforming into I don't know, just helping them see God in a different way, maybe that they haven't known before, right? Is there anything like that? Have you seen anything like that happen?
Many times. So the way our system works is, as soon as a patient comes to our facility, they have access to a lot of information about the faith that we have and our belief. And that is also with the advantage that in Africa we still have lots of freedom about sharing your faith. And so when they come in, even when they're in the waiting area, they might get a chance to hear from one of our chaplains, the Word of God. And if they're admitted and they go to our ward, every one of them will get to meet with our chaplain. And usually what they do, we have two chaplains here in Kijabi. What they do is they meet every patient and just ask them simple questions, how they're doing, whether they are comfortable, and what they feel about what they're facing, and whether they have any fear in their heart. Most of them do, and whether they have hope in their heart for their child. And through that, conversations begin where we can share and talk about our faith. And when they hear why we do this, because we don't do it for our own glory, and they hear why we do it and how we do it, because we've had people, like yesterday or 2 days ago, I forwarded an email that came from Peter. Someone wrote to our website telling us that they had a child that needed care. And so we forwarded it to our social worker, and they contacted them, and the patient came yesterday, Wednesday, for the clinic. And today they wrote back saying that our doctors treated them so differently, and it was such a different experience. And from there, the questions now come, why are you so different from other facilities? And that's where we share our faith. And we are happy because through this, many have come to confess and make a commitment to Christ. And we've done lots of follow-up with many that have come here, and we try and connect them to a local church that is close to them, so that they can have some spiritual growth.
That is so cool. What are, I don't know if you guys are familiar or not with the statistics or the numbers of Christianity in Africa or in Kenya. I mean, is I have no idea. Is Christianity a big thing? Is it not? Is it hard? Is it no? Do you guys know anything about that? Is there any numbers?
In Kenya, we say we are 80% Christian, and that's for a population of around 46 million. So
Wow.
we are very, very Christian in our in the way we project ourselves. Of course, there are many levels to how that is presented, and we face many challenges on interpreting what Christianity really is, because we sadly have alarming levels of corruption in government and in other areas. So, and you can see that in our media. If you just look at any of our papers, and you'll see things that don't really represent what we say as 80% Christian. But those are the numbers: 80% Christian.
Wow. Has that been for a long time, or was it what was the former faith in Kenya?
That's been the general balance for many, many years. So we've had 80% Christian, I'd say around 10 to 15% Muslim, and then all other faiths grouped up in that, the rest of the 5%. And that's been the general spread. We have seen growth in numbers of those who profess the Islamic faith, and so, but that's the general pattern within our country. Mostly Christian, then a good portion Muslim, and then the rest are just all these other little many faiths mixed together.
Yeah.
Sorry for saying little.
No, it's so interesting because my connection to Africa is you, David. Like right here, right now. That's all I know about Africa.
I feel the weight.
Yeah. So everything you're saying right now represents a whole continent.
A whole continent with one
whole
person.
continent. Yeah.
No pressure, David. No pressure.
No pressure.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are some of the current challenges that Bethany is facing right now? Is there anything in particular that this is our focus for the next few years, or current, in the next year, or with COVID, we have experienced this and we really need to tackle it, or a new challenge that wasn't there before? What is something that you guys are currently facing, maybe?
I know that you mentioned earlier about this desire that we have to really offer this holistic care. And in some of our countries where we're newer, where we've just started, we just have a singular surgeon. And there's a lot for that surgeon to carry, right? You know, there's not a well-developed physio program or wheelchair program like what we have in Kenya. Our hope, or one of our hopes, is to really see that each of those countries start to be strengthened in their teams. And of course, that takes money, but that also takes strategic planning. So we're looking at expanding our work right now within Ethiopia. That's a place we've been working for many years, and we feel like we're doing great work. But sometimes, in order to continue to offer the level of care that we know we are called to offer, we need to hire people like physiotherapists, people like wheelchair technicians. So we are in conversations with a couple of our different teams in different countries to see if we can't bring a bigger team around them. Let me give you one example. Sierra Leone, we have the only pediatric surgeon in the country, is our Bethany Kids trained pediatric surgeon. That is, so they carry a lot of weight. And in the ward in which they work, this year, 2 people in their ward, 2 surgeons, one surgeon, 1 surgical resident has died due to COVID. And this is the same ward in which lost surgeons due to Ebola not that long ago. So we have surgeons working in some of these areas, and they just carry so much. The image that David painting is carrying an entire sort of cultural identity on one shoulder. That this is the kind of image that I get from some of our surgeons, where they're working tirelessly, but it's not easy. So my hope, and I know the hope of Bethany Kids, is that we can learn from some of what's been happening in Kenya under David's leadership there, and we could see, well, what does it look like to develop mobile clinics, physio programs, wheelchair programs? Because among the many things that to me are exciting about Bethany Kids, if you talk to David's team about the assistive technology and the wheelchair, I mean, there's innovation and excitement, and they are doing incredible things, which absolutely wonderful. And to me, I want to see those best practices that we can have in one country. How do we learn from them and make sure that we can resource our other countries beyond surgical intervention to include long-term holistic care?
Wow, so good. David, what are the similarities between these 6 countries in Africa? I mean, is language a barrier? Is language common? Does everybody have to speak English so you can talk to each other? Like, what are the similarities with these countries? Do people speak the same language in Africa? Like, I have no idea, so I'm so ignorant. But just could you give me some light on that?
No, all African countries are very, very unique, and unique in as they are as countries. But then also, if you break them down, because like a country like Kenya, we have so many, over 40 ethnic groupings, and that's the same you'll find in other countries. I think Tanzania has, our neighbor Tanzania has more than 60, and that's what you'll find. So Kenya is very different from Ethiopia, very different in culture, even the way people present themselves. It's very, they speak, Ethiopia speaks English. It's one of their functional languages, just like Kenya. So that makes it a bit easier to interact. But then there are levels to how the English is applied. So even when those surgeons come here, they're always trying to either overcome barriers of accent and such things. We have trainees who've come from Cameroon, which is split in the middle between French-speaking and English-speaking people, just like Canada. We have Sierra Leone, which is a lot of French also is spoken there. And Uganda, which is our neighbor, is very similar to us in terms of the language. And so we are able to connect a bit more. But all the 6 countries are very, very unique. I think what connects us most is the need. because in all 6 countries, the number of specialists who can do the procedures that are needed for these children are very low. And the specialists that are there are probably concentrated in the main capital city. So those out in the rural areas don't get access to that care. And then the cost of care is usually a bit hard to access for people from different sides of the country. And so the need is what connects us, is what makes us almost similar. But in terms of ethnic, the way we are grouped together as communities, we are very, very, very different, even in culture. And it's always a very unique experience for me when I'm interacting with someone from Ethiopia or Madagascar or Sierra Leone or Uganda. It's always a very unique experience. And so even for the surgeons, when they come here, they learn interaction of culture, and they teach us a lot of things about their own culture.
Wow, that's so cool. That must be such an awesome experience to be able to be a part of something like that. Is there I don't know, like sometimes, like for example, when I was younger, I used to participate in like these short-term mission trips, and it was actually back in not my hometown, but outside of my hometown. There's a lake, and there was a missionary base. So there were teams coming from Canada and the U.S., and then we would go to towns and do skits, and talk to people and do all kinds of stuff, to share our faith. But I'm just curious to know, is there something like that with Bethany Kids where people from the U.S., from Canada, from like all these other places can come and experience or be a part of something like this, or be some sort of help in any way? Is that a program? Is that or is that not related at all to what you guys do, or is there something like that?
Yeah, there's two that I can think of. And first of all, again, to restate, our priority is to make sure we're resourcing local people. So we definitely want to avoid sending in teams that would just take away work from someone who's local. That said, we often have medical professionals or experts in their fields come to offer innovation and insight to our teams. So our wheelchair technicians, they're constantly collaborating and working with folks outside of Kenya who are on the leading edge of wheelchair technology. We will often have pediatric surgeons from the West maybe will come and help with teaching or helping to, again, share best practices. But we always want to make sure there's a sense of we are all people, and we don't want to have that kind of colonial model of one person knowing everything and pretending that they're going to share it, but rather it's collaboration and partnership. So on one level, we have medical professionals coming over to assist and to train. The other group, and this will be a newer program, but we've just started really engaging a broad range of ambassadors. So we have this growing collective of ambassadors, people who are pastors and artists and influencers from around the world, who they're kind of offering to lend us their voice and speak on our behalf and try to tell our stories. And those people over the next couple of years, we're looking to bring some of those folks so that they can see firsthand with their eyes and their cameras, and they can meet some of the people that David's just described. Because I know that some of our funders are exactly Beto what you've described, where they're like, Africa, I don't know. It's there is a lack of awareness. And even when you hear kind of in the media in North America, you hear Africa described as like one country with one language and one cultural experience, right? Yeah. And as David said, even within Kenya, you have 40 ethnicities, and we're not even talking about foreigners coming in. We're talking about local people who've lived on the land for centuries, and that is their language group, their ethnicity. So our hope is that we can equip some of these ambassadors to come for the sake of learning, so they can learn from David and the team there. They can see what's happening. They can talk to some of the kids, and then they can take those stories back to their home countries, wherever they might be. And those ambassadors, thus far, we've been seeing a few new ambassadors every month over the course of the summer, and they represent a range of different countries. So they would be taking our stories and the stories of these children back to their home country. So it's two types of mission kind of experiences or travel opportunities, but we're aware that mission trips historically have been sometimes a bit complicated in terms of their impact. So what we're trying to measure is what's the purpose of your trip? If you're going to come to Kenya and spend money, what's the point? Maybe it's because you have a specific skill you need to share that we're in need of, and we're going to have to let David and his team at a local level make those decisions to say, well, yes, we need someone who's got a specialist in pediatric burns, and we need that person to come and kind of convey some knowledge. Okay, that's one type of person who might come. Or a storyteller, a pastor, someone who can communicate what's happening at a broader level. So those are different kinds of people we might invite to our various sites across Africa.
Wow, that is such a cool approach. I love the way you really have in mind this picture of like, we don't want to colonize, right? We don't want to come and just be. I mean, here in America, it would be typical, America come and saves the day, right? But no, you want to really empower the local community to maybe resource them and help them out to say, no, you guys have all the potential. You guys have, everything it takes. Maybe all you need is a little few resources and knowledge, but I mean, you guys are human too, and you have all the capacity to be surgeons, to be, be the leaders of this team. So it's so amazing. Even just meeting you, David, and seeing like all that you've done, in the last 15 years or more, since 1997, and just to see your heart, for your community and even for your neighboring countries. That is so awesome. That it speaks to me personally, I think to the kingdom of God in a very tangible way, in a very real way. It's not like you're trying to say, oh, I'm just going to share my faith and here's the Bible. No, you really care for the people. You focus on the need, and you say, well, there's more to the need than just the physicality of helping you. There's also the spiritual component to it. Because I think we are, as humans, we're not just the body, right? We are soul and mind. And I think when you take care of those holistically, not ignoring one or the other, right? If you just focus on, I'm going to tell you about God, but you don't focus also on, I'm hurt. Right, I'm physically hurt. I physically have this need. No, you focus on both. I think that has a way bigger impact. And I'm so excited, to see what Bethany has done and where it's going. And maybe, I don't know. I feel like this is going to impact even the way other ministries work around the world, because you guys have such a cool approach to it. Is there ministries that are similar to this, or do you find yourself like really at a unique spot? Because I mean, to me, it sounds super unique what you guys are doing. But I mean, did you learn from somebody else too, or have you gotten input from somebody else that, hey, there's a different way to do mission and to approach like this holistic care? Have you learned from anybody else?
I mean, I would hope that we're always learning from other people, because if we get to a place where we say, we've come up with the best system in the world, that starts to be pretty narcissistic, and then we're no better than anyone else, saying, oh, well, yeah, we're the best, you should be like us. Our hope, we try to have a posture of constantly learning, constantly growing, and empowering local people, because if we take the words of Jesus seriously, and that means that we're all brothers here. Not like one's the older brother with more power. No, we're all equal. We're in this kingdom together. And we live in a very divisive world where people like to pit each other against each other. But we have to get to a place where we work together, and we all have something to bring to the table. And I know other organizations, they have their approach. For us, we always want to learn from any organization we can. I'm sure if you spoke to David, what you'd hear about Kenya is that every one of our projects we have done in partnership with other programs as well. Because for us, this notion of partnership is critical to how we think. For Bethany Kids, we're really trying to put people first. So there might be sort of other organizations that are really specialist in infrastructure projects, in water management projects, in education, and we cannot do our work without those. So one example that I know David was intimately involved with, but there's a school in Kenya, and their approach was on teaching kids, and the vast majority of those children had varying disabilities that they were living with. Now, we offered to partner with them. We didn't say, listen, we're going to teach math from now on. We're going to teach the English. No, there are other NGOs doing their thing. What we want to do is say, our focus is on the medical needs of children. And if you have children with medical needs, can we partner? Can we help take care of the kids in which that you serve? So we do want to always be in relationship and in partnership with other people, and never get to a sense where we think that somehow we figured it out, because it's at that point we're probably going to stop learning and stop growing.
Wow, that is so cool, man. I love it. Yeah, I want to be constantly learning and growing. So the moment you think you've arrived, it's probably the moment where you're getting stuck and you're not expanding and growing. That's so cool. What is maybe just tell me like some. I mean, you mentioned a little bit about the ambassador program, but is there like a specific goal, in short term or midterm, that you want to see reach from Bethany Kids? Some challenges that you want to overcome right away. What is your hope or your vision like for the next short-term vision or long-term, short-term? What is the next step for Bethany Kids? What do you want to see happen? What's your hope?
I'll let David speak to Kenya specifically, but a couple specific goals that would be on my mind. Number one would be in Ethiopia to develop a stronger program as we register our organization more fully. So over the next 6 months, we're wanting to see that we have a greater capacity to serve children. And in particular, one of the programs that we're looking to launch more fully is a bowel management program for children who have congenital challenges, who have, as a result, bowel management issues. So number one would be Ethiopia and strengthening our program within long-term holistic care for children in bladder and bowel management. Number two, I would say in Sierra Leone, looking to bring on some physiotherapist or some program to offer more holistic long-term support for children who come through our program. So those would be two non-Kenyan sites that I know are very much on the forefront of our thinking right now, that they're at a strategic turning point where where an investment of money and attention has the capacity to save lives. So those would be two non-Kenyan programs that I could speak to immediately, but I'm sure David could also probably mention some specific goals and hopes for Kenya itself.
So for Kenya, there are many, because we are at a growth phase, but there are two that are very close to my heart and that we would want to, and even to our team here in Kenya, and we want to see develop. So on the surgical side, the way our surgery care has developed, we have two groups of children that we take care of. A group that is very focused on neurosurgical conditions, and a group that is just general pediatric. And so for the neurosurgical conditions, we've had a problem in recruiting and keeping a neurosurgeon. So our hope within the next few years is to first have an on-site neurosurgeon, not just one, but at least two, so that around that we can develop a training program for neurosurgeons, a residency program or a fellowship program that makes it possible for us to churn out neurosurgeons, so that gap is not felt for the next few years, and that we are able to fill that very needed gap. By God's grace, we've done so well in the general pediatric surgery training program, and that's the result of all these people working in all the different countries. The second bit is on rehabilitation. We would want to replicate the training that we do for surgeons. We'd want to replicate that for therapists. So we would want a postgraduate residency or fellowship program that helps us train more therapists here in Kenya and in other African countries, and just raise the level of rehabilitation that we do, physiotherapists or occupational therapy.
Awesome. Some very specific goals. I love it. I think just the labor that you guys have done, it's so focused, and I think maybe that's part of the success. And I love that you guys have just been doing it almost without like seeking your own glory or, hey, we're Bethany Kids, check us out or whatever. No, I mean, you guys have been grinding and doing an amazing work. I pray that even, as people listening or people tuning in, and if they're part of, maybe if they live in Kenya, and they can be part of this, that they can check it out, that they can go check out BethanyKids.org. Is there a better way other than the website? Are there ways for people to try to connect and get plugged into what you guys are doing? If they are, we don't don't just want like the regular, typical teenage kid, going on a mission trip. No, we want people that are specialized, people that really know what they're doing, so that they can share their abilities with somebody else and empower the local communities. So is there a better way for people to connect in that way?
I think there are a couple ways we've tried to create for people who maybe they're not the ones needing the surgical intervention. So thinking about people outside of Kenya or outside of Africa, we have a very active Instagram page that we're trying to post some of the stories that are taking place, trying to post updates. So that's been a beautiful place for people to connect. We've met a lot of different people on our Instagram page, Facebook as well. And then we've also, over the last 5 months, started producing a monthly devotional guide. And this is a free resource for churches and for individuals to say, these stories, you might not be able to go there in person, but every month we produce a 6-part Bible study guide that looks at specific topics. So we just released one yesterday. And the way that these work is we take the stories from David and from his team and from our other countries, and we look at them through the lens of Scripture, and we try to have like a teaching or a Bible study that teaches on a specific topic, like prayer. This month is on prayer, but not just sort of random invented illustrative material, but rather real stories of real changed lives. So that's something that we've been working on to help people feel connected to the work, because what we're hoping for is that we would have more than just passive donors. We want to have active participants in the mission. And I don't mean that we have to get on a flight. There are other ways to actively participate. But I hope that people who perhaps people listening to this, maybe people who've donated to our website, there would be a sense that they are part of it, not just donors. I want to see that everyone who donates, it has this sense of like, I am part of Bethany Kids. Like I am part of the team. Well, what's your job? Well, I donate and I spread the word. That's my job. I'm like volunteers. I want to see that we are including a broad range of people, that are ambassadors or representing a broad range of voices, and that more and more people identify with this cause and say, I am part of it, right? And that's the hope that I would have, that we don't have to go on a trip. That's a very expensive way to be part of it. There are other ways to be part of it starting right now, today, in whatever city, whatever country your listeners are. You can be part of Bethany Kids. Join us online, sharing our resources, and donating where that's possible.
So cool. There you go. Very tangible ways for people to connect to Bethany Kids. And, go to the website, check it out, BethanyKids.org. Guys, I'm so, I don't say it trivially, but I'm so blessed to have this conversation. Like I honestly say it with all my heart. This has been so even eye-opening, even though right now all I see is you guys, but it's almost like through you, I can see kids being blessed. I can see kids living like different lives. I can see hope, and all I see right now it's you guys, but it's like through you I see hope, I see lives being changed, and I'm so excited. So in a sense, that's why I'm saying I'm blessed. I'm so happy to have had this conversation. I wonder when David retires and becomes a repairman, what kinds of repairs he's excited about.
Mostly woodwork. I like making things with wood.
Awesome.
And also, I like mechanics a little. So
nice.
I just
Car
like
mechanics?
making things. I like creating things.
Cool. That I have 3 kids, and my oldest is 10 years old, and he loves, putting things together. Like he loves building Legos and building things. And I think he has a little bit of that engineer mind. But I love, even sitting across here and seeing some of the tools back there. Yeah, I love it, man. I also, like here in my studio, I always tell, people that come here, like I built it. I built the wood and stuff. So I'm always proud to say, I'm a little bit of a handyman too. And like I was saying, sometimes it works against me, because then all these my wife's friends, they all want a little bit of me too, and sometimes I don't have the time. But this little side note.
It's been brilliant, because I think people like David who love to create, one way to do that is with wood or with engines or something. But I think if you look at the kinds of projects that Bethany Kids has gotten involved with, you can see that element of innovation and creation in there as well, where it's like you're always trying to make something new that's going to serve a function, right? Like when you built your studio, you're like, okay, the need is that I need a place to record, that control the light, all this, and then you built it, and it feels very tangible. And I get the sense that one of the things, and I'll just speak on David's behalf for a moment, but one of the things that makes him an incredible leader, and I'm so thrilled that he leads our work in Kenya, is he is the guy that likes to build and fix things. And when you build and fix things, you don't just do it for any reason. You do it for a specific reason. And in the case of Bethany Kids, he's like, how do I build this to serve the needs of these people? So one day when he retires and has an orchard, is mending fences or something and building wooden airplanes for the kids, whatever he's doing, I know that hopefully he'll look back on these days and say, I built something incredible as well.
Well, I can say that it's been a pleasure to work for Bethany. It's the only organization I've ever worked for. I did odd jobs before, but ever since, even after undergraduate, this is the first job I got, and this is where I've grown. And what I enjoy most about Bethany Kids is when I came in, I think I saw in the people here, and it's still there, even in the DNA right now, a desire to see people as much as possible the way God sees them, and to place the value that God has placed in them, and not what the human world or society places on people. So it could be a child whose face looks totally different, whose head is so big, but then seeing in that child what God saw when He created that child. And I think that's what draws me and keeps me in Bethany Kids, and that's what I hope to keep in my heart even when I go out there. And so when I see a piece of wood, I see the potential of it becoming a nice chair with a lot of function. And I'm hoping that I keep that in mind when even I interact with people. And I think that's also the what Christ in his life and his words showed to us. The kingdom of God was for such as this when he talked. So it's not about age. It's not about your ethnic background. It's not about your height or your stature, how big you are, or your color or anything. It's something more divine. Because when God decided that this person should be here, he had a value and he had something that needed to be seen. And if we can be part of nurturing that, or even just being alongside it, or being blessed by it, it's just a beautiful thing.
So cool. Thanks for sharing out, David. I think I have a great I don't know if this makes sense, but I have a great taste in my mouth. This has been an amazing conversation. Thank you, guys. Is there any maybe one last thought you guys want to share? A positive thought? I don't know. One last thought you guys would love to share.
I would just say that there's room at the table. Like we are a small organization, and we have big hopes to heal children. So in whatever way, whoever's listening, we need you. We could really use your help in whatever skills, whatever capacity that you have that makes you unique. There's space for you.
Cool. You want to say anything, David?
No, just to echo those. We will work with whoever God brings our way, and with the hope that we will see something beautiful develop from it. So with the work that Bethany Kids is doing is just amazing, and I'm privileged to be part of it. I'm very humbled, and will never forget this. So it's a beautiful thing for anyone who wants to be part of something big.
That's cool. This is so cool. I hope one day I can maybe go visit you in Kenya. That would be epic. That would be a dream come true. They're in Kijabi. That would be so awesome. So I don't know. Maybe one day I'll be there, and we can do something together. It'd be fun to, maybe do some videos or photography or something like that I could humbly offer. But thank you so much, guys,
great. You're signed up.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much, guys, for your time. Either at, what is it now, 5 o'clock there in Kenya?
Yes.
Cool. And 10 a.m.?
I think so, yeah.
In Canada?
Yeah, just after.
Cool. All right. I'm just starting my day here, so
Enjoy it.
You guys woke me up so early.
David's living in the future, so he can tell you that Thursday was a good day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a great day.
Tell me what my day is going to be like, man.
Oh, man, it's going to be good.
Thank you. That's so cool, guys. I enjoy this so much. Have a blessed rest of your days, and see you guys later.
You too. Thanks, man. All the best.